Hi, this is Isabel Litzler. Welcome to my channel. So today's video is about recruiters and how to connect with them during the summer. This is actually a great time to connect with agencies because the workload is a little bit lower. So they have more time to look at applications and candidates and even have you over for an interview to get to know you. So I would really suggest that you do this if you have some time this summer, is to connect with agencies. So I will give you 3 steps today, 3 tips on how to do this in a professional, organized way so that you save time in your process. So number 1 is to identify which agencies would be interested in you based on your field of work. So I've put together a 9-page guide that you will receive when you attend my webinar. It's a free gift. So if you watch the webinar, you will get it. Those 9 pages, it covers the whole of Switzerland, all the agencies, including headhunters, based on the fields of work. So it's huge value for you, huge time saver. So again, I would recommend that you download this. If you already have a list, then this step doesn't apply to you. But again, I just wanted to mention the first thing you need is to identify those agencies by region that would be interested in you. So if you're in finance and you're looking for a job in Geneva, you need to identify what are the agencies or headhunters in Geneva needing people in finance. If you're in marketing, same thing. So that's going to eliminate a lot of agencies that are not focused on the type of work that you do because they're not going to be interested in you. So that's step number 1, is really identify, try to pinpoint those agencies that want to connect with you, because if you connect with agencies that don't recruit in your field, it's a waste of time. They're not going to look at your resume because their clients are not looking for that type of a profile. So step number 2, once you identify, let's say, a name of an agency and in Geneva, let's say you're looking for a job in Geneva, then what do you do, right? How do you approach them? So we get to the approaching part, which is a little bit more nerve-wracking. So what you need to do is basically find out, do they have a job already in their website for my type of role or not? So if they do, then you just follow their process, you apply, you send your resume, your cover letter if needed, and then you just go through the process. You leave a couple of weeks. If you don't hear anything in a couple of weeks, then you would send an email, asking what's going on in the process, knowing that during the summer it's probably going to be a little bit longer. But, giving you basically some input there. You wait at least, I would say, 2 to 3 weeks. So once the 3 weeks are ending, you would send an email reminding them about the process, where they're at. If you have the name and phone number of an individual, that's even better, because you're welcome to call the person and find out about your application. Even if it doesn't work out and you're not going to be pulled out of the pile, at least they recognize your name. So maybe for this one job they won't be interested, but maybe for the next job that you apply for, they will remember you because you called. So always trying to be noticed, but in a nice way. So you try to call somebody, you send an email, nice reminder email about your application. After 3 weeks, that will bring some kind of attention to you. Again, you have to do this in a very nice way. You don't want to be harassing the agency every day or something like that, but a nice email is always appreciated. What if there's no job for you? You've identified the agency. Now option 2 is there's no job online, but you know that they recruit marketers or financier or whatever. What you want to do is send a nice email telling them about your profile. So I have a script in my program, my online program, where I teach you how to get a job in Switzerland. I have many scripts available for icebreakers during meetups or even emails and things like that. So an example of an email would be, this is my profile. I noticed that you do look for finance individuals in those kinds of fields. I would be very, very interested in getting to know more about your needs and your client needs. Would you be available for a quick 15-minute talk on Skype or something like that if you're far away? If you have a nice profile, their job is to find people for their clients. So they would be interested in at least exchanging by email or giving you feedback. Again, don't wait. If you see they're not replying, give it another shot. People are quite busy. It even happens to me sometimes where I miss email that I didn't respond to because I get so many in my LinkedIn inbox. So you want to make sure you wait at least a couple of days, maybe a week. And if you don't hear back, again, the reminder, I sent you a message. Again, this is my profile. I would be happy to connect. Always nice, always subtle. Don't harass people. But I think if you're nice and if you're polite, those are my 2 advices. Being nice and polite, people tend to at least give you feedback or tell you that they'll get back to you a little bit later in the week or in the month. People have priorities. It's not about you. It's about managing their priorities, and everyone tries to keep everything together. Now, the question would be, what if I'm a non-EU and I don't have a work permit? That will be the topic of another video I will make on work permits more specifically. But again, what I tell people in my social media is that when there's a will, there's a way. I really believe in motivation and passion. If you really want something, I have so many examples of people around me that have found jobs in Switzerland that are non-EU, that have very non-typical profiles, that maybe you would think, how come did they get a job? I see people posting also comments saying, I did get a job, and I'm non-EU. So I also communicated on this channel a little bit earlier in the last years that it was difficult for non-EU, and I'm not changing my mind on that. I still think it is a challenge for sure. But I also got a lot of feedback recently for people who are non-EU, including in the school I have a partnership with, that do get internships and then potentially get hired. So again, it's all a question about how much effort are you willing to do to get to your objective? Are you willing to take the steps? And I talk about this in my program, to achieve your goal, to do the hard push-ups and make sure that you are doing all the steps. You have worked on your profile, on your resume. You are connecting with individuals and not getting depressed because you don't hear back. Failure is part of learning. So you will try many times before people get back to you. I talk about my story also in the webinar, how I was laid off and started from scratch again and made my way back up. So it's all about learning from what happens and then getting back on your feet and trying again. So again, the message on this video is that if you're not a Swiss or a non-EU or EU, whatever you are, if your goal deep down inside is to work in Switzerland, and I have a friend who did it, she's American and she has a very good job right now. So if your goal is really to find work in Switzerland, you want to settle in this country, you want to grow in this country, it will be possible, but it will take a lot of effort. So that's all I have to say. It's efforts. So that's step number 2, is how to connect with recruiters. And step number 3 is how do you follow up? So I already give you a few tips here about the waiting period. So I would say probably 3 weeks if you post for a job is good. If it's a spontaneous application with an agency, I think if they don't tell you about a week after, if they don't reply, you can connect again with them and remind them that you send them an email to talk to them. But again, even if those 2 methods fail, it doesn't mean you have a bad profile. And I want to make that clear. In Switzerland, it's very, very common that people don't reply necessarily immediately. The staff sometimes is a little bit short, especially during the summer. So you may not hear back immediately. But it doesn't mean, again, you have a bad profile. It just means that, again, it's priority management. And the best thing you can do is keep trying. If one door closes, that's my philosophy. If one door closes, another one will open. So if those agencies didn't reply to you, there will be another one somewhere that will connect with you. So don't take the first failure as a no-go, that's it, it's over. It's just a lesson. It's just teaching you basically how I look at failure right now in my process, in my career, in my field, in what I do every day. Is I look at it as, okay, you've learned something. You've learned that this door is closed, but that means that you have to look elsewhere. That means that it's not the right path for you. So if someone is not replying to you, if a process is not working, then that just means this is not the right process for you. But there will be another agency that's very happy to talk to you. Maybe it will take 3 months, even 6 months, even more. I told a client it might take a year, 2 years for her to hear back in Switzerland or to get somewhere. So you might say this is too long. But if it's really, again, your end goal, I'm talking about long-term goal. You can't really look at things short-term. You have to look at what's your long-term objective. If your long-term objective is to settle in Switzerland, it's possible. But it might not be overnight. It might be a process where you have to make some trips. You have to connect with people. Maybe, you get a bit of results after a few months. And then after a year, maybe you end up being appointed. So that's what I want to share in this video, is look at the process as a journey. And you will have some doors that open, others that will close. But it will teach you something also about yourself, and it will guide you also closer to the direction that you're supposed to take. So it's all about finding your way. I talk about this in my webinar, how I had to find my way as well after being laid off. What's the direction I should take? Should I stay in corporate or not? Should I go for another type of activity? You have all these things that are going on in your head. but it's all about getting to know yourself and getting closer to where you're supposed to be. So I hope this video was helpful. Feel free to comment. I will talk to you soon.